Joining me now with more on all of this and on the challenges that might be posed by sending American special forces into Gaza is retired Army Major. I almost made you a general. John Spencer. I just promoted you. He's the
Thank
chair
you.
of Urban Warfare Studies at the Modern War Institute. John, thanks so much for being here. So should American special forces go in there? Our SEAL units went in and got Osama bin Laden. Why aren't our hostages being rescued by American forces?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for, in my own opinion, I think there are American forces helping in any way possible, but I also have spent time with Israel and know they have some of the most elite counterterrorism hostage rescue forces in the world. I mean, in these type of operations, to do a intelligence-driven raid into a Hamas-held territory, it's just not feasible. But I know that there is a lot of support to get those American citizens home. So I don't know if it's a yes or no question. I know the better question is America doing everything physically possible to get those back? And I think they are, to include supporting Israel's forces with intelligence and other aspects to identify where they are. But it's just not as simple as sending Americans in to get American citizens
Right.
out.
Right. The key, as Chris Christie said on that debate stage, is actionable intelligence. We have to know exactly where they are. And given that Gaza's under attack, how does that shut down the flow of intelligence to our intelligence agencies?
No, I mean, of course, there's complications. It's an active war zone, but there are also the Israel military is actually in there gaining intelligence from enemy prisoners of war, from entering certain neighborhoods. So there's a trade-off, of course, but you're actually gaining intelligence from being in the environment as well, rather than just being like, an enemy-held territory that nobody has eyes into.
Right. There are reports that the IDF has this week begun flooding the tunnels in Gaza. President Biden said yesterday that he's concerned about hostage safety given those reports. A spokesman for Netanyahu was on this show earlier this week, and she told me that hostage safety is paramount. So does this mean the IDF knows where the hostages are and they're not flooding those tunnels?
No, well, yes and no. So I wouldn't think that the Israel knows where the hostages are, or they'd be doing missions to get them out, and they actually are. The flooding is in combination to other alternatives to entering the tunnels, but it's not like you immediately press a button and the tunnels are flooded.
Right.
It's a mechanism to get rid of the booby traps, since the IDF have lost. And we've seen the drone footage and the soldier GoPros of them entering the tunnels. So when it is appropriate, they enter those tunnels. When they're using the flooding to destroy the tunnels, which is the quickest, most effective, lowest collateral damage to destroy a Hamas-bound tunnel, I don't think that they're going to flood tunnels without knowing if there's a hostage or not in a tunnel.
Well, you actually think that this idea of flooding the tunnels is a good one. Why?
Because of all the other methods that's ever been tried in the past of history, to include filling with wet cement or using bunker-busting bombs or even rope charges into the tunnels, or what we did in Vietnam, filling with tear gas and then blowing up. It's really the safest, most effective way to. You're not going to pump out, thousands and thousands of gallons but also the safest as in all the booby traps that are down there that you can't enter those environments.
Right.
I do think of all the possible alternatives, especially explosive demolitions, that it is the most logical and really what most scholars in underground warfare believe is the pragmatic thing to do.
Yeah, although it's going to take weeks to flood. I mean, there's hundreds of miles of tunnels, and they're only flooding a small portion of them, and it will take weeks to do even that. I want to ask you very quickly, John, about these arrests in Europe, these Hamas cells that Mossad says were planning attacks on Jewish targets in Europe. This is amid a high alert for terrorist attacks in Europe. The reports are that some of those arrested had been in Europe for a very long time. We're talking years and years, and were recently activated to launch an attack. That's really concerning.
It is. And just like 9/11 was a world-changing event, October 7th is a world-changing event. So I think these are a positive, saying that the Israeli intelligence agencies had this ability to thwart an attack, much like the 9/11 perpetrators were saying in Europe places for a long time preparing for their attacks. So I think October 7th changed the intelligence community again, and the ability to find these people who have in their manifesto to kill as many Jewish people around the world as possible. This is to me is a good sign, but also a sign of wow. This is
It's
significant.
bigger.
Yeah.
It's much bigger, and we heard the leader of Hamas say it's not going to stop on October 7th. We're going to do it again and again and again. Now we've uncovered a plot in Europe with Hamas operatives who apparently had been in Europe for many, many years. It raises the question, John, very quickly, should we be concerned here in the United States?
Absolutely, but there hasn't been another 9/11. Our intelligence agencies are working around the clock in all of our borders and our cities, and yes, we can always get better. But yeah, it is a concern. Hamas is a global terrorist network who has ambitions, just like Al Qaeda did, just like other individuals who want to do us harm. But that's why we invest in our national security and to include our intelligence agencies to prevent it.
All right, John Spencer, thanks so much. Good to have you on the show tonight. No one has
Thank you.